It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Hello and welcome. He is Gary McNamara. I'm Eric Harley. As we begin a Monday, Gary, how are you?
Hanging in there. Nothing's really changed since Friday, so let's go home.
I'm pretty excited because we have a special ending to our show. Pauly Shore is going to parachute in at the end of our show this morning. It's so huge. It's going to be so big. Unbelievable stunt that he's going to do.
I heard about the Ted Cruz thing. Or Ted Cruz.
Or Tom Cruise. Cruz. If Ted Cruz had done it, that would have been fun.
Hold it. Another sip of coffee here.
Well, you know, this was not their first choice on this they said we want to do something that is really, because it's Mission Impossible, the whole Tom Cruise thing. So we want to do something that is seemingly impossible. The first choice was to explain the opening ceremonies, and they thought, no, we'll never get through with that. That is totally impossible. So let's just parachute you in.
Or the second thing, teach courtesy to LeBron James. But
and that's you
heard about the kid that wanted the autograph. Shoot him aside, and that
right.
It's like people are upset about it. I'm just like, stop it. Do you understand this is a guy who had no idea what happened in Wisconsin and blame the police that helped fuel the riots and the killings in Wisconsin back a couple of years ago? And you're worried about him shooing a kid away? Do you understand the racism of LeBron James? Yeah. The way that he will stoke and demonize and lie? Because if you don't know what happened in a particular situation and you make an allegation, you're lying. And it's like, everybody's worried about, he shoot away a kid. Pay attention, damn it.
By the way, the fact that they almost lost to Serbia. Gosh. What? You guys almost lost to Serbia? Wow.
I saw they were down by a lot.
Yeah. I was just reading the highlights. I was like, how did that ever happen? Yeah. Yeah, but it's over.
I did not watch one live moment.
No, I didn't watch anything.
I did see the both on YouTube is where I caught and almost all of it was track and field. I caught the men 4x400 that they won, the women 4x400 that I think, so 4x400 would be 1,600 meters, and they, right? Yeah, 4x400. Yeah, four times 4. And the United States women won by 1,800 meters. I will say this, though. Watching, I also saw I can't remember the name of the people that won the 1,500 who won the 1,500 meter for the United States in a gold medal and came from behind. And then was it the 400 meter the guy that came behind, or was it the 4x400 where they came from behind? But it was running is really interesting, especially when you get older and when you can't run anymore, and you see these young athletes running. But I sat there and was watching the women, and I was thinking to myself, women run differently than men. If you look at the posture of it, it's different. Mm-hmm. Absolutely beautiful to watch human beings run like that, both men and women. But women, the women is what really, they were so dominant, but the way that they run, and I can't even explain it. Why? Well, they talk about horses running, how beautiful it is, but when you have people running, you're talking about professionals like that running. Mm-hmm. Wow. It was quite impressive, and I was thinking to myself, man, someday the left would want men doing all the running and women not a part of it anymore, and what a shame that would be, because what a beautiful sight it was. And I watched it on YouTube after it happened, but to watch it and how they run, beautiful thing to experience, and the left wants that gone.
Well, a man got a gold medal in women's boxing.
Yeah,
so
I know. Right. It can happen
we
anywhere
knew that
now.
was going to happen.
Right. So, I mean, the insanity of it all you could see there. But,
That's the way the left wants it. That's exactly how they want the world, apparently.
As for the general umbrella, nothing really changed since Friday.
No.
It's still
Kamala Harris got a little more MAGA, but beyond that, it.
Well, yeah, but the thing was, though, remember we had talked about Douglas Schoen and Roy Teixeira, both one a Democrat pollster and the other one a long-term critic of where the Democratic Party is going, writes for the liberal, it's called the Liberal Patriot, and believes that the left is wrong. He's a lifelong Democrat and believes they're wrong on everything. They suggested that Biden become more MAGA, and simply Harris just picked it up and said, I'll become more MAGA.
Right.
The interesting thing is the immediate reaction was, excuse me, you were the vote that broke the tie to ensure that we tax tips.
Right.
And that the IRS goes after people that
exactly. Zero self-awareness once again.
But still all of everything is all the negative is still at the Harris campaign and Walz. That didn't change over the weekend. In fact, he keeps building and building.
Yep.
And building and building. And then the election's over, by the way. Trump's going to win because Ann Coulter is going to vote for Trump. So,
oh, okay. Well, then now it's over.
But so that really hasn't changed. You had J.D. Vance do, again, a wonderful job over the weekend. And really, I mean, he has, in the last 10 days, he has become the biggest positive, along with the ads that they're running, the biggest positive. I've gotten more emails from people that are Trump supporters that are just like the weak link in the Republican Party is Trump. And still, he was over the weekend, still was going after Brian Kemp, still talking about, the size of the crowd. And you have people, you see more of it coming up now from Republicans saying, Trump's got to stop this. Nobody gives a damn about crowd size. Stop it. You have the surrogates. You see them on X. The surrogates. She's lying about her crowd. This crowd size. Nobody gives a damn. Stop it.
It has nothing to do, honestly, has nothing to do with the election.
No,
the claim by either one of them has nothing to do with the election.
Right.
And the problem that you have in going after Kemp, you're going to have to build the allies. We said this back in 2016. Of course, that wasn't going to resonate. That never was going to resonate during the 2016 season. And it didn't resonate during the first couple of years of his presidency. And the reason we know that is because the Republicans had the ability to push for a wall and to push for his agenda, but they didn't. And so building that consensus is everything, which includes governors. And if you don't like Brian Kemp for whatever reason, then you say nothing.
Well, that being said, because, again, that's probably the most response that I have gotten, over the weekend. And my response to it was, nah, it was okay this weekend. He was just, the Kemp thing sort of is dying out. Kemp was out there this weekend talking about the fact of, how Trump has to win. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, that's not really going anywhere. The crowd size, nobody really cares about. The only thing Trump's doing by bringing that up is not focusing on things that the voter cares about. But the fact is, at the end of the day, my concern, Trump's going to be who Trump is. You're not going to change his personality. He's still going to go do things that are going to make people cringe. But he has a vice president, running mate that is out there everywhere just killing it. I mean, just absolutely killing it everywhere. And he's the one that's on the Sunday morning news shows. He's the one that's doing, all of the really what you call the grunt work. Mm-hmm. And so I don't think that anything that Trump did this weekend, as here's what you have to look at. If by the end of the day, everybody's talking about Trump, he did damage to the campaign. If they're not talking about Trump, he didn't do any damage to the campaign.
Mm-hmm.
And by the end of the weekend, and even on whatever, nobody was talking about Trump. Everything is still on Walz. Everything is still on Harris. I mean, the big thing on Harris was, it's like, I love it, political plagiarism.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
No tax on tips. You had, when you had J.D. Vance out there saying, and we'll play some of the audio coming up, saying, my God, no, Scott Jennings. Scott Jennings welcomed her to the Republican Party.
Yeah.
He goes, nobody on this planet believes, no one believes that she'll be tougher on the border than Trump.
Right.
And it's like, so, that's coming out. I saw it was, it's been a week of it's okay for what the Republicans did, what the Trump campaign has done. Do I believe that Trump is still the weak link and could still blow it? Absolutely.
No, it's his to lose.
Yeah, it's his to lose. And I, by the way, Greg Gutfeld, did you see that where he said, well, you really can't blame Trump because he's not a politician. You can't make him a politician. Well, that's a bunch of BS because it's not about being a politician. It's about telling the truth on the issues. I don't even know what that means when you say, well, Trump's not a politician. With all due respect to Greg Gutfeld, stop the BSing. All Trump has to do to sit there and say Trump doesn't have the capability to look at the 5 issues and stick to that at a rally because he's not a politician is the biggest load of horse manure
We've seen him do it.
you could possibly imagine. Yes, of course we've seen him do it. And to use that as an excuse, well, you don't understand. He's not a politician. He's not a You've had people come from all sorts of different industries and business and become politicians. Stop it. There's nothing bad with saying somebody's a politician. Why? Because you're a politician. That's what you are.
He's a former president
Right.
running again.
And to sit
by
there,
definition, he is.
And to say that he can't be a politician, which means he can't stick to the 5 or 6 things where he can tell the absolute truth, and he can't do that because that would make him a politician. Stop it.
Look, I'm happy to see the ushering in of a new generation of Republicans and conservatives that is not the old generation. He's not going to be a part of the future. He's got 4 more years at the most.
Yeah.
That's it. So the future of the party is something I've been concerned about for a while. And if there is any, indication from the rise of DeSantis, J.D. Vance, Ramaswamy, and other conservatives within the party, then that is the hope that you look for, because I don't want, and we didn't see any at the RNC. The convention didn't have any of the old guard on the stage. And I love that.
Oh, did you see the DNC? Clintons.
Yeah.
Obama.
Yeah.
Biden.
You got to call in everybody.
Yeah.
Bring in everybody. Make it look like
But they're going to stick away, from what I read, they're staying away from media and Hollywood stars and sticking with the old traditional guard of the Democratic Party. I'm like, wow.
Yeah. Right.
But Biden over the weekend basically made it clear, and so did Pelosi, that they took it away from him. Pelosi especially, Biden saying, well, I was neck and neck, and they just thought it still might affect, the down ballot.
Right,
so
right.
I got out. So what he's admitting is, what he's saying is, I wasn't sick. The elites of the Democratic Party said to hell with the Democrat voter and what the Democrat voter wants.
It's playing out exactly the way we said it would, and it will. If she loses, he's going to be telling the entire world he would have won.
But they don't, the Democratic Party, the elite of the Democratic Party, the DNC, the higher-ups, don't care about the Democratic voter having their say, but the Democratic voter doesn't care. Democratic voter doesn't care if their vote counts or not.
No.
They don't care.
However you want.
Otherwise,
however you get it done.
Otherwise, you'd hear people upset about it. And I haven't heard one Democrat voter upset about
There
what
won't be
happened.
anybody protesting that at the
No.
DNC. Remember with Bernie. Remember them showing up in 2016. They were ushering her in. We later found out from the DNC emails. Oh, yeah, well, we'll pretend like Bernie has a chance. And Bernie's core was at the DNC day one. They made him shut up after that. But you're not going to see any protesting at the convention this year over people not getting a say as to who their nominee is. No, that's not going to happen. Not going to happen.
Yeah, nobody's upset about it. It's like,
and
fine,
Trump
we
will
don't
be
care.
the end of democracy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But like I said, all in all, and as I said Friday, I always nitpick in a campaign, but actually there was more of what I saw as nitpicking or concern from other people sending me messages saying everything's in line. You're right. The commercials are perfect. J.D. Vance is wonderful. And we had questions about you. J.D. Vance was not my first choice.
No.
And I wanted Youngkin. There's no way Youngkin would have done what J.D. Vance has done in the blunt way that he's done it.
I don't know that any of those that were on that list could have done it.
Yeah.
Maybe Ramaswamy. He wasn't on the short list, but people were talking about him. But you have to get that point across and be able to do it at any point in time, anywhere, anytime, and he can.
866-90 Red Eye.
This report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance. Keep your engine humming in the heat this summer by keeping up with preventive maintenance. Think your PM is complete after your oil is changed? Think again. There's grease, transmission fluids, and gear oil to consider too. Clean gear oil, for example, extends gear, bearing, and seal life. It also protects against low-speed, high-torque wear and high-speed scoring. That means not only longer equipment life and reduced maintenance costs, but also improved fuel economy and lower operating costs. So the next time you plan for your oil change purchase, don't neglect lubrication and inspection, especially on components and parts that work hard to keep your vehicle running safe and smooth.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Welcome. So here we go. The Olympics is over, and now I know school's starting this week in Texas. I know in my school district it is. So here we go. I did some of the things I saw over the weekend. Somebody was one of Harris's surrogates was saying Trump really doesn't want to debate Harris. He's the one that's got 3 approved. She'll only do 1.
Right.
Anything that they're trying to throw out right now for Harris isn't sticking.
Well, because she's running from the media. The little 1-minute thing she did the other day is nothing.
No,
it's nothing.
Because then she ran away from the follow-up question to it.
Yep. She didn't even really answer any of the questions. She gave a response. It's just like Karine Jean-Pierre. You're not answering the question. You're just responding to somebody's question, but it's not the answer to the question. And she can't. So what does that look like on a debate stage?
And I don't know where this Walz thing's going to end, because you're at the point right now where you have to ask yourself, does he stay on the ticket? Because it's not ending. There isn't anybody in the military coming to his defense.
The fact that this weekend, they didn't try and put it to rest this weekend, tells you everything. They're running.
Setting the standard for America. Eric Harley and Gary McNamara on Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thank you so much for being here. This is from CNN over the weekend. This is Scott Jennings. All right, you ready? All right, here we go.
I'd like to first welcome Kamala Harris, the vice president, into the Republican Party.
Is that all it takes?
Well, I mean, I saw her ad today, and I thought, did I miss something? Did she switch party? Is she now running as a Republican? Because if you were a space alien and you landed on this planet and you knew nothing and you watched that ad, you'd say, boy, that Republican, she looks pretty tough on the border right now. There is no conceivable way that any person in this country is going to believe that Kamala Harris or any Democrat candidate for president, after everything they've said and done, is going to be tougher on the border than Donald Trump. I want to Venmo the DNC right now, so they'll keep running these ads and keep reminding people of what a disaster this is.
It's you honestly, it's you look for it and you're like, okay, because we always say we want the Democrats to debate on the issues. But you can't have the same position on the issues all of a sudden. That's not a debate. That's an admission.
Britt Hume wrote this on Friday. Democrats quickly settle on Kamala Harris, not for who she is, which remains as unclear as they can make it, but for who she is not. She is not Donald Trump, and just as importantly, she is not Joe Biden. And while they'll never admit it, Tim Walz seems to have been chosen because he is not a Jew.
There you go.
And that's what it really, we all know that's what it comes down to, because that's why nobody cares on the Democrat side what her opinion is on everything, because they know who she is.
They don't care that they didn't get a say-so.
Rich Lowry wrote in National Review, in reality, she's a cardboard cutout of a politician whose main political talent is to be able to just barely simulate determination, passion, and mirth. I love using mirth in there while reading from a teleprompter, insulated from real interactions and from media scrutiny, running against an unpopular former president and boosted by a party and press that have no alternative but to invest all their hopes in her. She is suddenly more than the sum of her parts. It was pointed out to that Rich Lowry comment that Biden and Kamala Harris are also extremely unpopular.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, it is a cardboard cutout. It's, at first I was inclined to say it's like Hollywood came up with a really bad politician, but actually, for a movie. But actually, she wouldn't make it through a movie. She wouldn't make it through 2 hours without being heavily scrutinized by the audience going, that's the worst written character of all time. She might make it through, I don't know, a sitcom or an SNL bit, but you're not going to get that kind of, because we know all of this is a facade. Everybody knows it. It's, again, the question, how much do you care that they're lying, that they ushered her in this way, that they pick Walz instead of Shapiro? How much do you care about that? That's what it comes down to. How much do people care about that? Well, the far left and the left, the rank and file, they don't care at all about it because we're hearing absolutely nothing from them. It's about the independents.
I did get a lot of feedback on the caller that we had on Friday, the Democrat.
Mm-hmm. Keith? Mm-hmm.
And people were just like, wow, that's the problem that the Republican Party has.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That the people that vote Democrat actually have no idea what's going on.
We've said that numerous times. They're banking on it.
And
they
now,
are banking
now the
on
thing
it,
about Keith is he considered our viewpoints, and every time, in fact, the frustrating part
willing to
of
admit
it,
when he didn't know something.
But the funny part of it was he already had determined he was going to vote for Harris, but every time he made a point and we responded, he agreed we were right. And that's maddening.
Mm-hmm.
It's maddening to hear that. You're like, well, what do you base anything? What do you base anything on? You have to realize that is a significant portion of the American public is like that. Most of the American public does not pay attention like talk radio listeners do.
Right.
They don't. Now, I will say this. They seem to, in general, on the issue, by the way, I got to see the poll. It was on Drudge. Harris leads on the economy. There's no way that is an accurate poll.
No.
There's no way that's an accurate poll. Absolutely. And I laughed at that one because that's another thing. The pollsters, by the way, Trafalgar came out and with their poll late last night, and they really focus on states. Pennsylvania Trump, Nevada Trump, North Carolina Trump, Arizona Trump. I'm just looking at it off of X because this is also going to be a election of who do you believe in the polls.
Yeah.
And if it's, you've got Trafalgar, you had the CNBC poll, you've had Rasmussen, and now it's going, New York Times Siena poll shows that Harris is in the lead. That came out, that's as of the 9th also. And so the war of polls is going on right now. And I know Mark Mitchell from Rasmussen's been all over the place saying the other polls aren't accurate. Well, one of them aren't.
Right.
I can't tell you which is. Yeah, he pointed out that a lot of them are hiding their methodology. They're not letting you see it.
And there's only one reason you do that. And look, trying to get the headlines, again, it goes back to you want the people who are willfully ignorant. This is what you're counting on. And if the pollsters are motivated politically, and some of them are, then they're going to be in that mode too.
But you still see, Jonathan Karl over the weekend, by the way, he was just, my God, what a political activist. But even he had to admit, Kamala Harris, and she came out on no tax for tips. Where have I heard that before, he said.
Exactly.
But J.D. Vance did a great job eating him up. Well, she wasn't the border czar. It was just like, stop it.
Yeah.
You're
laughable.
You're still back to that one. That one didn't get any legs. The media doesn't know, the liberal media, the liberal activists do not know what to do right now.
Well, here's the thing. They're stuck in a situation, and I pointed this out a few times, but after this weekend, there's even more proof. And it is, all right, for a moment, they were relieved that someone was awake enough to be on stage. But then they went right back to but she can't speak either for different reasons. And they're trying to make sense of anything that comes out of the campaign, and they can't do it. They're stuck in the same situation they were with Biden, but for different reasons. It has nothing to do with his age. It has nothing to do with her gender. It has nothing to do with her heritage. It has to do with the fact that she's clueless. As a person, as an individual, she's not capable. And don't ask us. Ask the Democratic Party, who by December 3rd of 2019 decided she's not going to even make it to Iowa.
And remember, the person who was anointed to the top of the Democrat ticket when she had to get out a month before the Iowa caucus.
Yeah.
Back in 2019, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 2019, accused Democrats of being racist. Yeah. She hates the Democratic primary voter.
Right. She was angry at you guys.
Right.
Very angry.
And the Democratic primary voter's like, oh, what the hell? We went out and voted and everything else, but we really don't care. Just anoint the person who called us all racist back in 2019.
Exactly.
It's just, you cannot make this stuff up. It's just, it's so bizarre. Coming up, we'll play the CNN panel, debating how voters care about her lack of media appearances. Think about this. The media that claims that they want transparency, and they don't. And that's why we've gone after, we did late last week, some of the conservatives out there saying, when is the media going to do their job? Stop it. They're political activists.
Right.
They don't. Now, what they do want, the reason they were mad at Biden is because they didn't get their talking points.
Exactly. And that started day one from the Biden administration.
Right. They were upset because they weren't getting daily talking points. They didn't know what to do. They can't do it on their own. And now they don't know what to do because they understand that if Kamala Harris has, actually gets out there and does an interview, she's not going to do well.
Right.
And this is the thing. 21 days now, this is the thing that amazes me. Why hasn't any friendly media said, we'll do whatever you want? We will give you the questions we're going to ask you. We'll edit out whatever you wish us to edit out.
Mm-hmm.
We'll do exactly what the campaign says. Somebody's willing to do that on the left.
Yeah, multiple outlets are willing to do just that.
Are they that afraid that she cannot talk?
I've been saying
and
that.
Maybe ad lib, even if she knows what the questions are going to be, that unless she has the notes and teleprompter in front of her, she can't do it, which would actually make her worse than Biden.
Well, that's the thing, and I pointed that out. The fact that she can't ad lib with the friendliest of media. Because she could come out there and she knows it. Said it last week. She could come out there and she could name the media, name the interviewer, and then name all the conditions of the interview. Full stop. But they still don't have confidence she can get through that. Why? I don't believe she has the confidence she can get through that. You wouldn't be able to keep me from a podium if I were running for president.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, this is where it becomes self-inflicted. The Walz thing, I don't know where this is going to end. I don't know how, because it didn't die down over the weekend, and it keeps every single day you see somebody else in the military, somebody else in the military.
Yeah.
Here's the chaplain, here's this, here's that. And they can't defend it. And if something doesn't stop this serious in 10 days, you've got problems. Remember how quickly they dumped Biden.
Mm-hmm.
We all knew. The public all knew. And
he's a sitting president.
And in one speech, we're going to force you out. And and by the way, that's still part of the conversation going on. You think about it, everything over this weekend. What was the conversation about? The conversation was about Nancy Pelosi. Well, is she saying that he didn't even write the letter, that it's his aides? I mean, it got to the point of Biden isn't in control. He wasn't in control, isn't in control now, was forced out. Even his, yada, yada, yada over the weekend still made people go, what the hell's going on here? But the focus is still on that. And then the focus is on Walz. Then the focus is on why won't Kamala Harris do any interviews? And why is Kamala Harris trying to sound like a Republican?
Right.
That's what you want in a campaign. You want all the questions out there being about the opposition. And that's why I said to the Trump people, look, the Brian Kemp thing, I think he's moving away from. He tried to explain it over the weekend. It was like, no, don't. Just let it go. Mm-hmm. But and the thing on the crowd size, nobody cares about. That's typical Trump. Nobody cares about it. Nobody was talking about that by the end of the day. Everything is still focused on the Democrats, and that's what you want.
And it's not going to get any better with the Walz thing. Not only is he a dumpster fire, he's a dumpster fire on wheels that is attached to their nominee directly. Yeah. And she can't get away from it. It makes the whole interview situation even worse. There's no way to sit down without that question coming up.
Well, sure there is. These are the political activists of the left. They just don't address it.
They won't answer it.
Well, they won't ask the question. That'll be part of the interview. Mm-hmm. Nothing on Walz. Nothing on economics. Mm-hmm. Nothing on why have I decided to embrace everything that Trump believes or the campaign.
Well, see,
none of that. It'll be like.
But this is the problem. Even they realize there's no way we can get this past our viewers. It's the most obvious question about Walz. It's the only thing people are talking about with Walz. And there's no way to get that past your viewers. You know it.
I agree with you. It's not going to work, but they put themselves in that situation. That's why there hasn't been an interview. They can't get anybody.
Hasn't happened yet.
For
a reason.
We will do an interview as long as you don't ask any questions.
Then you just have her do her own interview.
You
have her husband conduct the interview.
You ask, why are you running for office? And then she reads it off the teleprompter.
Yeah.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. To show the political activism of the media, we've got a great example coming up following the top of the hour. Because it was last week. I mean, it started again where you had Republicans and conservatives saying, "No, maybe the media will straighten up and stop it. They're not journalists. They're political activists. Stop wasting your time thinking you can convert them into being journalists. You can't."
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across the USA, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. All
right. Just to show you something that is just so obvious. By the way, it shows that we're dealing with children here. This is from the Star Tribune in Minneapolis, okay, the editorial board. Now, we all know, we had mentioned this last week, that Tim Walz, within 24 hours, was being called Tampon Tim. Now, why was he being called Tampon Tim? He was being called
for putting tampons in the boys' restroom.
Right, for putting tampons in the boys' restroom. Boys' restroom. It had nothing to do with women, right?
Right. Had nothing to do with making tampons available
to women. Right. So, just so you understand the political activism, how the truth means nothing to the Star Tribune in Minneapolis. And by the way, if you look at it, you look at the people, you got to sign in. You've got Democrats going, absolutely, 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 absolutely. And listen to this here. On Tuesday, Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris tapped Minnesota Governor Tim Walz as her running mate. By Wednesday, the opposition had mobilized with lightning speed for one of its first political attack, dubbing Walz Tampon Tim in reference to a new state law providing free menstrual products to school students. Is that why they called him Tampon Tim?
No.
The nickname was trending nationally this week on Twitter, an indicator of its political currency. Libs of TikTok account has more than 3 million followers, was one of the first to amplify it. Former Fox News host Megyn Kelly added to the momentum, endorsing the nickname via tweet. Former First Lady Hillary Clinton weighed in from a different angle with the tweet supporting the Minnesota measure. Social media users swiftly took sides as well, and as usual, facts and context were missing. Now, it's important because this is what, again, the Star Tribune editorial page is telling you. Social media users swiftly took sides, and as usual, facts and context were missing. Now, the interesting thing is, this is an editorial that completely lacks the context of what the actual argument was about.
Yeah.
Social media users, again, swiftly took sides as well, and as usual, facts and context were missing, especially from those who see the new law as evidence of a radical Minnesota under Walz's leadership. But a closer, more informed look at the issue should yield a different conclusion. This is a good and necessary policy. Providing free menstrual products is a practical and compassionate remedy to address an under-the-radar reason for student absenteeism. Some families can't afford menstrual products, and when that happens, students stay home instead of going to class, falling behind as they do. There's a lot of talk about closing educational achievement gaps, Blah, 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 blah. What don't they mention at all in this article?
Boys.
Never mentioned what the actual debate is, completely left out. This is the kind, and this is, again, by omission. This is line by omission. This is the Star Tribune in Minneapolis, line to its readers. Why? Well, they haven't told you what the argument actually is.
No, they were clearly afraid to take up the argument.
Right.
The debate.
So they lie. Lie by omission.
Yep.
Here's what we say it's about.
Mm-hmm.
Understand, and I'm going to repeat this again because I did get frustrated last week at some, conservatives out there. Stop believing you can rehabilitate these people in the media. Stop thinking they're journalists who have gone awry. They are not journalists.
Who was it that did that post and put that in their post? I forget who it was.
Last week?
Yeah.
Was it somebody in National Review, I think?
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody in National Review did it.
Said, these journalists and what? Well, no.
They're not doing their job.
They're not journalists.
Yeah, it's like they're not journalists. Expecting the mainstream media to become journalists would be the same as expecting, since his name is in the news, LeBron James to be a hockey player.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you're talking about, two completely different jobs.
Well, I remember saying it to Sean Spicer during an interview on our flagship WBAP, and he said that was the first time he had heard it phrased that way. I said, huh? This was after he was no longer in the job and had moved on. He says, no. He goes, I like the way you phrased it. I'd never heard it phrased that way, that they're activists, not journalists.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, there's, at that time, here's a guy fresh out of inside the Beltway.
I know.
That worked for the Trump administration, and I don't know how that conversation didn't ever come up.
And I know when we really lost, it was after the whole Mueller investigation.
Right.
And there were a bunch of conservative media people saying, well, hopefully now the journalists will realize have been fooled for the last 3 years, and they'll come to their senses and stop. And we were just screaming, saying, stop it.
There are some journalists out there. There are some. There are a handful. You really have to look for them.
But majority of the mainstream media are not. They're political activists.
No. You have to look at Barry Weiss. You have to, look for these actual journalists who are concerned about getting to the truth. And you'll know it when you read it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, but no, the activists have no interest at all at getting to the truth. The only thing the activists ask for is help shaping the narrative. That's it. Not putting the truth out there, shaping the narrative.
Yeah, you and I were playing a useless audio cut from CNN over the weekend when they're just screaming at each other about, whether Kamala Harris should take questions or not. I go, well, this is an inside media thing. The people really don't care out there. I mean, my God. I mean, it was just
the fact that they were going back and forth the way they were.
Right.
Tells you everything. Yeah. Tells you everything. If they're having this conversation in front of microphones and cameras, tell me the conversations that are going on behind closed doors.
Well, the problem is the fact that one of the problems is J.D. Vance is all over the place.
Yeah.
And he's answering questions left and right. and he's representing the administration. There's nothing out there after 3 weeks. Nothing. And then they throw stuff out, but there's still nothing as a solid platform. From what I know as of yesterday, still nothing of a platform on her website. You don't know where they stand on anything.
No.
The campaign will say something. Does she really believe? And when she says something, for example, she copies Trump, and it's just mocked. And you said something. Social media today is very quick to mock everything. And I would say that the populist / conservative stuff goes much more viral.
These are the things that, and you look at it, what gets more play, what really rises to the top and then keeps going, has legs. And the stories and reports on her that are negative on Kamala Harris and the Tim Walz thing right now, I don't see an end to that before. I don't know if it goes to November 5th. I don't know why it would die out because of everything going on with Tim Walz is years old. And the closer we get to the election, the more critical it is that more and more people understand who he is. And that's the entire point of the conversation. You need to understand what he's done in his past. You need to understand as people vet him. Nobody knew. Nobody could name the governor of Minnesota a few weeks ago. Most of them would probably say Jesse Ventura's still the governor. They just don't know, and the left is counting on that. And that's exactly what you're seeing right now. Is the problem is that the fact-checking happens by everyday people. The fact-checking goes on every single day. And that's just the ones who have a presence on social media. That's just the ones who actually post anything about it.
I will say this, that Megyn Kelly went after it because an former Obama administration official, Tommy Vietor, is the one that said, see, this is all, for the Minneapolis Star Tribune. Mm-hmm. And Megyn Kelly went after him. No, this is what it's about. Tampons in boys' restrooms, and then went on to Walz about him approving the bill for minors to cut off their genitals and all this. Right. And she blasted him. His response, ma'am, it's a tampon. You need to calm down and maybe consider trying to keep guns out of school since those actually hurt people. And Megyn Kelly writes, he lost, so he resorted to the old calm down. Think about that. How misogynist is that? Telling the woman to calm down. Right. See? Yeah. Misogyny, racism.
I'll tell you what to be concerned about.
Comes from the Democratic Party there. Former Obama staffer Tommy Vietor. He lost, so he resorted to the old calm down while dealing with none of the hard truths in my post. He went from this isn't happening to it's just tampons in record time. Right. This is what partisan hacks do.
Yep.
They fold like cheap tents when their bull, and she says the word, runs into facts.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. Yeah, they can't make it fly. The thing about hope and change, you could make it fly. What does it mean? It means whatever you want it to mean. It was like watching Willy Wonka all over again. It really was. Everybody gets a golden ticket. Everybody who votes for me gets a golden ticket. And it was just as weird as the whole Willy Wonka thing, too, for anyone paying attention to the facts. And now, in today's world, the fact-checking is happening immediately with people. We see the people who respond to it and post it or repost it on social media. What about the people who scroll and never post or repost anything? How about the millions and millions and millions and millions of eyes who see that and go, wow, they have a point? There are plenty of clueless people in this world, but it's never been easier to find the truth. Ever.
No, it never has been.
And this is what they're running into. You shape a narrative. You're the one that was the one who first came up with no tax for tips. We have you on record being the tiebreaker.
To make
You
sure
wanna
we
be-
enforce the taxation on tips.
Exactly, and go after all the other small income of people. And then the border, the whole border czar thing.
I know.
I'm going to be tougher. Donald Trump was never, that's what they really want you to believe, that he was never even, didn't even have an idea for the border. That's how arrogant that ad was. That goes nowhere. That is a wall. Speaking of walls, immediately. But this isn't a border wall. It's a political wall that the left keeps building and running into themselves.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
Surviving and thriving as an owner-operator has just as much to do with managing costs as it does with generating revenue. Understanding basic principles of operating costs can save you thousands of dollars a year. Costs are not the same each month. If 9,600 miles are driven one month and 10,000 miles the next, two different sets of costs apply for each month. For example, if your tractor payment is $1,850 per month and you drive 9,600 miles in the month, your tractor payment is costing you 19.3 cents per mile. Drive 10,000 miles, though, and that same payment will cost you 18.5 cents per mile. This is one of your major fixed costs while paying off a truck loan. The difference in this example is only a fraction of a cent, which may seem like small change, but it ultimately amounts to $960 more annually on the bottom line. Because though fixed costs do not go down over time, you can reduce your cost per mile with more paid miles. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section of the website for more details on this and many other topics. Brought to you by Shell Rotella, with advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. So let's get to some of the actual audio. I got problems here with this is J.D. Vance on this week with Jonathan Karl. Okay. All right, here we go.
Have a wide open southern border because our border czar actually set a lot of open border policies. They suspended.
She's not actually. She wasn't the border czar.
Oh, that was what the media called her. She assumed the title. She had control over a lot of our border policy at a time when they were suspending. Let me finish, John. The time they were suspending deportations, they stopped Donald Trump's Remain in Mexico policy, and they reinstituted catch and release. They basically threw open the gates of our country, and now we have a ton of fentanyl, a ton of people suffering.
But how are you going to get 10 to 15 to 20 million people
Well,
out
the
of the
first
country?
thing you have to do is to stop the bleeding, stop the open border, get Kamala Harris out of there, and actually re-implement the Remain in Mexico policy, rebuild or finish Donald Trump's border wall, and you do that and you stop the bleeding. Now, you're right. Once you do that, once you stop Kamala Harris's open border policies, you've got to do something with the people who are already here. And I think that you take a sequential approach to it. You are going to have to deport some people. If you're not willing to deport a lot of people, you're not willing to have a border when there are 20 million illegal aliens in our country.
10 to 15 million people, this is like, I mean...
Well, John, I think it's the wrong attitude to take of it. Okay,
you go knock on doors and ask people for their papers.
Again, but
I
think this is the wrong attitude towards it, right? There's 20 million people here illegally. You start with what's achievable. You do that, and then you go on to what's achievable from there. I think that if you deport a lot of violent criminals, and frankly, if you make it harder to hire illegal labor, which undercuts the wages of American workers, I think you go a lot of the way to solving the illegal immigration problem. But look, President Trump is absolutely right. You cannot have a border unless you're willing to deport some people. I think it's interesting that people focus on, well, how do you deport 18 million people? Let's start with 1 million. That's where Kamala Harris has failed. And
Yep. That's it right there. I mean, he lined it out and being very realistic about it.
No,
he didn't have to include any hyperbole at all.
I could see your approval when it's like, well, how do you do this thing? And my first thought was, my first answer would have been, well, number one, we improve it by getting them out of office. That was his second point.
Yeah.
And you were shaking. I saw you shaking your head. I'm like,
well, I was pointing to the go after employers. Make it harder to hire illegals here in the U.S. Make it a very serious offense to do so and enforce it at that level. And when there is nowhere for them to work, they're going to have to then, at that point, there has to be a refocus on, all right, then what do you do on, and this is years down the road, legal immigration, something Trump has talked about before. He was talking about it with Jim Acosta. In the moments leading up to Jim Acosta being thrown out of the media room that day, those are the things that you have to, and I agree with J.D. Vance. You're not going to do it in one day. There's a series of steps you take. You start with focusing on the most violent. You start with, of course, you shut the border down. That's your number one. But in terms of deportation, there is a way to do it. It's not going to happen overnight, but you do it.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here this morning. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose if you can't listen live overnight. J.D. Vance just doing a great job there. By the way, Trump, because I had mentioned earlier in the show that response that I had gotten, I thought overall Trump's Montana speech was okay. Mm-hmm. Over the weekend when he mentioned Brian Kemp and tried to explain it, no, you don't need to go into that. And, the crowd size thing, I think, is just a dumb argument. Nobody cares. But I don't think any of that is harming him anymore. I think that's, I looked at, when you look at the last 10 days, everything is still focused on the Harris campaign, which is what you want. I got this email here because I went after not a lot, but I just went after Greg Gutfeld for saying, Trump speaks the way that he does because he's not a politician, and you can't expect him to be a politician. And I said that's BS because I'm not asking Trump to lie. I'm not asking Trump to be those things of a politician that you dislike. What I want from him is simply what I've always wanted. I want that Mount Rushmore speech. I want the discipline, and we'll play some of the audio that he showed at the Montana speech.
Build a consensus.
Right. But I wrote, I said, you're not going to change his personality, but, and I got this from Brian who wrote me, personality doesn't mean he doesn't, excuse me, no, I'm sorry here. Let me get the right one here. You just got done saying that you're not going to change Trump's personality. Then you go after Gutfeld for saying Trump's not a politician who gives canned answers. Well, I never said that. Stop it. You can't have it both ways. And as I wrote him back, personality doesn't mean he doesn't have the ability to focus. He does. We've seen it. But stop BSing that he can't focus and tell the truth on every major issue to win the election. Personality is different than discipline that he has shown in the past. The BSing, by the way, is meant for Gutfeld, not for Brian, who wrote to me. And that's the entire point. He can still have his personality and focus on the things that will win him the election.
I think he has the ability, unlike many.
No, I know.
If you want to say, well, he's not a politician. He's a politician, so let's set that aside. If you want to say he's not the same laid-down Republican that there's been in the past, these are the things we look at.
Or Democrat.
But, for us who support the Republican Party, it's critical that we not have the same old, same old. I don't want Mitch McConnell up there. I don't want the old John Boehner. We don't like messy. Yeah, actually, sometimes we need messy. The consensus building that you need today is done through redirecting the conversation, going straight back to the truth, and it's what J.D. Vance did this past weekend numerous times, and last week he did it a few times too. Exactly what we have said. Doesn't matter what the question is. You go straight for your narrative and you address it, and don't engage in their debate from the leftist media because you don't have to. That's a sideshow they're trying to create. You can sidestep the sideshow and get straight back to the facts and the consensus building. And J.D. Vance has done that over the last week in a very, very clear and concise way.
And you hear it in a moment when I play the Trump speech. He acknowledged another time, because he's done it multiple times in the last 5 days, what a great job J.D. Vance is doing. That's from Trump.
Yeah.
So Trump knows what works.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen the ads. The frustration, and again, I'm not frustrated because I think right now everything is okay for the campaign. I think they're on track. I was relating more of the emails. It seems like, look, how Trump communicated, we've been talking about since 2016. Mm-hmm. And my point was, it seems a lot of people are upset of how he's communicating and not focusing, and they know J.D. Vance and the commercials are. Mm-hmm. And my point was to say, yeah, I wish what happened last week, with the black journalist didn't happen, but it did. It's gone. Nobody's talking about it now. And at the end of the day, all I care about is, as somebody who's followed politics for the longest time, is the negative still on the opposition? Is everybody talking about the failings of your opposition? And right now they are. Everything's on Walz. Everything is on Harris. Mm-hmm. And it's very simple things to understand. With Walz, it's the stolen valor, but it's all the other crazy stuff, too, that has come out about him. And tampons for boys is one of those that sticks out. Minneapolis and the riots, something that sticks out. Mm-hmm. And for Harris, it's the fact that she won't do interviews. And the media, CNN can argue all day whether it's the right thing or wrong thing. It eventually is going to hurt you because people want to know what you think. They've done it with Biden for the last 4 years. Mm-hmm. He won't get out there and speak. He won't do interviews. He won't do press conferences. His excuse, well, the excuse from the campaign, he's just old and can't do it. As we know, well, maybe that was from the opposition. Mm. The campaign was, oh, no, he answers questions. He does press conferences when he yells at you when he goes to the helicopter with the jet engine on. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the excuse, but we all know what it is, and the same thing for Kamala Harris. Yeah, but our point was Trump has shown the discipline to do it.
Yeah.
And that's different than personality.
Right.
So I understand there are the Trump supporters that still exist out there. He never does anything wrong. I understand that. But there's less than there were. And people are looking at this saying this is a must election, and they're comparing it to the commercials and J.D. Vance. And the commercials are right on. Every commercial I've seen, I approve of. And J.D. Vance over the last week has been as perfect as a politician going after the Democrats and talking about the issues. Mm. And Trump had great moments, I think, at his Montana speech. Again, I'm not saying that Trump can't have great moments. It's the moments where at the end of the day, he becomes the focus. That's what you don't want in any political race. Always keep it on the opposition. Who is it? Charles Gasparino finally came out. He had it by the end of last week. Did you see that?
Mm. No, I didn't see that.
Oh, yeah. He was just Michael Savage.
Yeah.
Michael Savage last week. Trump doesn't stop it, he's going to lose. These aren't people that want Democrats to be in office. So here's part of a Trump speech in Montana that I thought was really good. Here we go.
As Minnesota's Governor Tim Walz let rioters and looters burn down Minneapolis. Remember CNN? They're right back there. Watch. Oh, there goes their light. Their light just went off. While the governor's wife opened the windows to the mansion to enjoy the smell of the fire. She said, the smell is so beautiful. I love it. I wonder where she's coming from. Walz said that socialism is just another word for neighborliness. She wants to be, he calls them neighbors, good neighbors. He signed a bill to give illegal aliens free health care. He abolished Columbus Day. He ordered tampons to be put into boys' bathrooms. Do we have any children here? Please close your ears. He ordered tampons in boys' bathrooms, okay? He signed a law letting the state kidnap children to change their gender so that they go home. But I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about her. This is her ideology. That's why she picked him. And he signed a bill allowing pedophiles to claim human rights protections under the state law. And then he said, by the way, J.D. Vance is doing a phenomenal job. But then he said, well, think of that. Think of the things I just said. Then he said, you know, I think J.D. Vance is weird. You know, it's a word that they use. I think he calls me that too. No, we're not. We're very solid people. We want to have strong borders. We want to have good elections. We want to have low interest rates. We want to be able to buy a house. We want great education. We want strong borders. I think we're I think we're the opposite of weird. They're weird. You know what they do? They work with the press on coming up with a soundbite, just a soundbite. And every station that night, all the networks, CBS, and ABC, NBC, they all said, oh, they were called weird. It's unbelievable. You know, it's not a word that's really used too much in politics, but it's a terrible thing that they can do this. It's just a soundbite. No, J.D. Vance is a great patriot, and he's a United States Marine, and he's a real Marine, and he's a brilliant guy.
There you go. Extremely focused.
Yep. And J.D. Vance has been extremely focused in doing exactly what we've asked any of them to do, and that is you redirect. Nobody can control what you say. They can only control what they ask, the types of questions they ask, and you go in for the kill every time. He did this weekend. If you weren't paying attention during the week last week, and you just turned it on just this weekend, it was all over again. He was just owning the left media, and that's exactly what you want. And Kamala Harris barely speaks to the media, and most of the time when she does it, it's off the record. Why is that? Why is she talking to the press pool in the back of her plane off the record? And she won't actually have a real press conference.
Well, because it's like, how can we manipulate the truth this week?
No, I think it is feelers. I think she's trying to feel who she can get, because you and I are both convinced she does not have the self-confidence. She doesn't have confidence in herself. So why would you go? Now, plenty of presidents have gone off the record, but you're only going off the record. Why is that? Because you're trying to find out where your avenue is, who you're most confident in talking to. That's it.
But I forgot who was, somebody said that on CNN last week. Well, he is talking to reporters, but off the record in the plane.
Yeah, she is. Yeah.
She is, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, stop it. It's
right.
like, God, stop it. Just stop it.
And nobody, that's even weirder. That actually made it worse, in my opinion. It's like, whoa, off the record. So there are it would be one thing if she weren't talking in front of cameras, on the record, off camera, off the record, and she just didn't talk to any of them at all. But she's talking to them, and we're told on a regular basis, off the record. Well, that's even weirder. The conversation that you and I were playing off the air, and they're having this back and forth on CNN, that conversation is going on in liberal newsrooms all across the country. Because at the end of it, they have to turn around and they have to sell it to their base. They have to sell it and try and convince people beyond their base. And how do you do that? You can't. There's no way to do it.
Remember last week when I said, because I'd heard the word in when they were, this is like probably Wednesday or Thursday, whenever they were making their first speeches, and it was the second speech that they had made. I don't know if it was the day they were in Wisconsin or whatever when she was giving the same speeches, but I was like, you notice, and it was Walz saying, joy, joy, we're all joy, and I said, I think they're going to try to sit there and say, see, we're happy and joyful, and Trump isn't. This from Associated Press just 28 minutes ago. Harris is pushing joy. Trump paints a darker picture. Will mismatched moods matter?
Yeah, right. Hook, line, sinker. There you go. Thanks, AP.
866-98-RED-EYE.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. We called it. We called it, Eric, last week.
Yeah.
When we started hearing, they're going, and joy, and we're going to bring joy. And I went, I bet you they're going to try to get this whole thing that we're politicians about joy and Trump isn't joyful. And then the Associated Press 28 minutes ago, Harris is pushing joy. Trump paints a darker picture. Will mismatched moods matter?
Yeah.
We're joyful about inflation.
Right.
Let's all be joyful.
Yeah.
I gave you inflation. Let's be joyful.
They took it hook, line, sinker, and then running with it.
That's, I know.
Good job, Associated Press.
Yeah, we predicted another one, didn't we?
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talking about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Welcome, and thanks so much for being here this morning, just talking about the campaign in general here as we start this Monday, August 12th. Still a long ways from the election. And like I said, I still think it's where it was on Friday as a direction that this is going. You have had all of the momentum is on the Trump side. The only thing being talked about is Walz and Harris in a negative way.
Yep.
And it's on the stolen valor, which is not going away. There's a new story every single day, Eric, on this.
Yeah, it's not fixable. This isn't one of those things where he just said something and he can go back and say, I was wrong when I said that. It's a major decision and then a series of things that he said to make you believe that he did something else. I don't know. I don't think you can fix it. You hope that it dies down, and it's not. Because it's meaningful to a lot of people in the military and families of people in the military. And you're not going to, you don't win this. And I guarantee you, they've had the meeting. What do we do about this? And the answers in the room varied from, We do nothing and hope that it goes away. We deny that it was we deny and keep denying it's a big deal.
Buttigieg did that over the weekend.
Pelosi did the same thing.
He only misspoke once.
Yeah.
Which is not true.
Right. And then all the way to the point of a full mea culpa, you have to go out and address it and say you're sorry. You do that and it's over. By the way, if you do that, then you should be also announcing that you're stepping down. Because that requires a full-on admission.
Well, you have to resolve things. For example, I want to play this. This is J.D. Vance.
Mm-hmm.
And being asked the question, why did you support Trump? Or why were you so vehemently opposed to Trump and now you're not?
Right.
Which is a legit question to ask.
Yep, sure.
And he answered it the right way. Here we go.
The second thing, Dana, is I believed, and I'm ashamed of it, I believed a lot of the media lies about Donald Trump in 2016. I believe that he said things like, for example, the media said Donald Trump accused all Mexicans of being rapists and criminals. You actually look at what he said, he did not say that at all. And I think it's important when you see something, you change your mind, and that's all I've done. And my pitch to the American people would be, I imagine a lot of folks who are thinking about voting for Donald Trump in 2024, maybe they've bought in to the media lies about him. Think for yourself, look at what he actually said, and I think you'll find that he's, one, a very engaging guy, but two, was a very good president.
Boom. Those are things that we are seeing with other people, and this is the reason that the left can go nowhere with the answer that you just heard from J.D. Vance is because it's the truth. Mm-hmm. As brutal as it may be on himself, I'm ashamed that I bought into the media lies, but I did.
Yeah, but you clear it up. There's no place else to go once you say I was wrong.
You leave zero room because here's the thing. The activists in these newsrooms, they know what a lie looks like. Trust me. They know how to build a lie. They know how to support a lie. But when you lay it out there, the cold, hard facts, the bare truth, there's nowhere for them to go. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with the answer you just heard from J.D. Vance. Nothing.
And in politics, the number one thing in a race, in any race, is to have the focus on the negatives of the opposition. And any problem that you might have that might be viewed as a political challenge, you get out of the way immediately. And that's the problem right now with the Harris campaign. And a lot of people are saying, well, she's extremely smart. CNN, she's extremely smart because there's no reason for her to talk because she's up in the polls. Well, is she? I mean, that's a great question to ask. I was looking at, we'll get to this here in a little bit, the Rasmussen Daily Poll. It's pretty amazing because they do it every day, what the race is, every single day. And a couple of days ago, Trump was up by 10. Then the next day is up by 4. But if you look at it, when she first announced for 2 days, she was up. She was leading.
Yeah.
And then it moved back to where it is. Mm-hmm. And you'll see for Trump, it's 2 points one day, 10 points the next day, 4 points the next. We'll actually go over that coming up here in a little bit. There's a lot of assumptions because what you're seeing from the media is they will take one poll and say, Trump is losing.
Right.
Well, in that poll, he might be. How legitimate is the poll? I would like every pollster to give out all the political demographics of everyone that they are actually polling. As Mark Mitchell said from Rasmussen, they're not doing it. They're not giving the public the full figures so you can analyze, what polls may be more accurate than other polls. But you've had just over the last couple of days, you had now the New York Times Siena poll came and shows that she's up and in the battleground states. Rasmussen shows the opposite. Trafalgar shows the opposite, and that's in all of the states. Well, excuse me. Rasmussen shows the actual popular vote race is being won by Trump. Trafalgar and CNBC shows the same thing. Trafalgar, I think, was looking at the state by state, and they still show Trump in the lead in the battleground states. And I think Rasmussen also did that. I'm not sure. I'll have to go back and check. But there were 3 different polls over the weekend that showed that Trump's up, and the NBC Siena poll shows Trump is down. That's what gets the headline in the liberal media.
Right.
We're bringing you what all the different polls say, all the major polls, because there's no reason for us to try to spin it.
Right.
And I've said, we brought it up as news because it is news. When Rasmussen went after all the other pollsters, I wanted discussion from other pollsters to come out and say, no, Rasmussen's doing it wrong because here's how we do it, and then have that debate. Nobody seems to be willing to have that debate with Mark Mitchell.
No, there was no response to that.
And that does not in itself give Mark Mitchell and Rasmussen more credibility.
But you would think that somebody would want to take that on.
Right, but you wonder why somebody wouldn't take it on if you're attempting to defend that your polling method is better. Now, I can't remember the guy from Trafalgar. He's out there all the time, or he has been in past elections. But if you remember, in Trafalgar, I believe he was off in a couple states in 2020.
They had changed their methodology in recent years. I'd have to go back and see what they changed in it. And there was actually an article on that. And we kind of went over that. Was it at the midterm or was it 2020? I forget.
Same with me. I forgot when it was.
So, but we've broken them down before because, look, we don't know. We can't tell you which one's going to be accurate, but there will be a list of the most accurate all the way down to the least accurate. That's just the way it works.
Now, there are some things that our gut tells us aren't true. When I saw the headline, I don't even know what poll it was. I just saw the headline. She leads for the first time in the economy. I don't buy that.
No.
When I saw the other day, some other poll said 21-point shift in independence. I don't believe that.
If you were to qualify it and say, among Keynesian economists, she's 100%. That's the only, you got to show me your qualifiers based on what? That's bogus. She, okay, now, and the next thing is she leads on the border. She leads on not taxing tips for servers. Everybody believes it's her idea. Just go ahead and paint the full-on picture. Don't look behind the screen. Don't look behind the curtain. Just don't look, Dorothy, don't look behind the curtain.
Just sell joy.
Just sell joy.
We're selling joy.
The yellow brick road.
I still love that headline. I can't believe we got it right. You know what it was? I hear a word more than once, and that's what happened.
Yeah.
They used the word joy twice in one of her rallies.
Right.
And I looked at you and I said it on the air. I said, I bet you they're going to try to push. I wouldn't be surprised if they came out and said, we're the campaign about joy, and Trump is about the darker emotions in people. Yeah. And there's Associated Press from 55 minutes ago. Harris is pushing joy. Trump paints a darker picture. Will mismatched moods matter?
All the meanwhile, Biden's at home watching it on TV. Joy who? Joy Behar. And darker. Nobody's darker than Dark Brandon. Dark Brandon. He was the guy. That's me. It was, those keywords, when they repeat, ring a bell.
As soon as I heard that,
they're floating the idea. Who's going to be first to carry that torch? It's got to be AP. I don't know. There might have been others. Maybe there are a couple of smaller media groups.
We need a president with cackling joy.
That's right. What's her name? Oh, what did somebody call her last week? Cackler McNever Borders are.
Oh yeah,
who did that?
I can't remember it. Cacklin
McBorder never
McBorders are or something.
McNever
like
the borders are. That's the other thing, too. The aesthetics aren't good. And you can tell they're trying everything they can to control that. We brought you, was it on Friday? We played the side-by-side of the different speeches, and all they did is change the state that she was talking to. And she's using the exact same words every time. That's how controlled it is. You can't come up with something new at all. Go with one pared down speech, and that's it. And I don't doubt there's plenty of people that will just buy into it. Or they just don't care. If you haven't done your homework on Trump by now, what we heard from J.D. Vance, also what we have heard from other, from very liberal and other former critics of Trump, Michael Rappaport. Here's a guy who was a screaming angry liberal. I don't know if you can call him a screaming angry conservative yet, but he is screaming and he's angry. And he's angry, I don't know, maybe in part at himself for buying into all those lies.
Now, I would expect that there's going to be a bump for Harris after the convention. I do expect that.
I've kind of priced that in.
Because they're not going to talk issues at all.
No.
I don't think they're going to talk issues. They're going to talk just general rhetoric.
Yeah, Bill Clinton's going to get up there and say, it's finally time we had a woman president. And that's going to go well inside the convention arena, but not so much at home.
And I can see there you're going to have somebody's going to watch his eyes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He hasn't been out in a while. Who's he looking at? Who's he gawking at?
Exactly. Exactly.
I missed those, remember?
Right. Biting the lip.
Remember the one where he was looking like he was looking at, and you have no idea what he was looking at.
Right.
But Hillary's looking at him like, what are you doing?
Exactly.
And like he's looking, and there's like
he's
a couple
got this
of hot women
smile
down there. You have no idea whether he's looking at them or not, but it fit perfect.
Oh, yeah.
It fit
and
perfect.
her face.
Yes.
Oh, my gosh. My gosh.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Thank you for being here. Reading here, this is Jeffrey McCall, opinion contributor to thehill.com. He's a media critic and professor of communication at DePaul University, has worked as a radio news director, newspaper reporter, and political media consultant. Harris's press avoidance strategy is un-American, and it's working just fine. Legendary interviewer and host of NBC's Meet the Press, Tim Russert, once said, I don't believe you can make tough decisions unless you can answer tough questions. Vice President Harris might reflect on Russert's challenge as she moves ahead with her presidential campaign. Since her boss, President Biden, dropped out of the presidential race and she instantly grabbed her party's campaign banner, Harris has been remarkably media shy. She's held no press conferences, has not sat for an interview with a journalist. Her avoidance of media interaction has sparked daily updates on the Fox News website, counting the days that Harris has ducked direct press engagement. Surely, every major and minor media outlet has already extended an invitation for her to do an extended formal interview. Every editor and producer wants that first get, and the press corps that follows her around every moment would jump at the chance to ask her questions in a press conference setting. The press avoidance might be Harris's actual campaign strategy, and it seems to be working out just fine. Polls suggest her election prospects have improved since Biden's exit, given Harris's reputation for gaffes and word salads. Her campaign handlers might well figure There is no reason to engage the media. After all, the press coverage of Harris from the establishment media has been quite favorable, even in the absence of rhetorical accountability. Of course, Biden won the 2020 race for the White House with his basement campaign, but the circumstances are much different in 2024. There's no pandemic, and she doesn't need to be hidden because of physical or cognitive frailty. But even if a press avoidance campaign can work, it is indeed a very cynical and rather un-American approach to try to win an election. It suggests Harris doesn't trust regular citizens to make wise voting choices based on being fully informed about her stances on the issues. It also suggests a timid, fearful approach to the media, quite the contradiction to Harris's broader campaign messaging that portrays her as fearless. Research by pollster Scott Rasmussen indicates that voters know very little about where Harris stands on any policy except for abortion. Rasmussen wrote the only thing a majority of Americans knew about was that she was opposed to any restrictions on a woman's rights to choose. A free press was established by the constitutional framer so that news outlets could act as surrogates for the public. When Harris avoids the press, she is in effect avoiding the citizens of the United States. And it goes on and on and on. I would disagree with his statement, though, that Harris doesn't trust regular citizens to make wise voting choices. She's scared to death of regular citizens making wise voting choices. She's not talking to the media because she believes and her party believes that the American public wholeheartedly disagrees with her.
If there were any confidence at all, she could talk to at least the most friendly of medias, and she's not doing even that.
Nope.
Our website, RedEyeRadioShow.com. Show info with stations, podcasts, and more. Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. I just want to play this here. This is part of the interview that J.D. Vance did on CNN. Mm-hmm. Okay, here we go.
Governor Walz has called you and Donald Trump, and that is weird.
Sure.
And it is taken off. The New York...
Wait a minute. It hasn't taken off. It only took off in media liberal circles.
Right.
That got beat down right away when it was like, weird? You want weird?
Exactly.
It actually, and on social media, it got destroyed.
Yeah, if it went viral, it went viral in its destruction.
Yeah. Let me play a little more of it.
Governor Walz has called you and Donald Trump, and that is weird.
Sure.
And it is taken off. The New York Times reports that when Donald Trump was asked about it, he said, not me, they're talking about JD.
Well, certainly they've levied that charge against me more than anybody else, but I think that it drives home how they're trying to distract from their own policy failures. I mean, look, this is fundamentally schoolyard bully stuff. They can accuse me of whatever they want to accuse me of. As Harry S. Truman once said, if you can't take the heat, stay out of the kitchen. And I'm doing this because I think that me being vice president will help improve people's lives. So I accept their attacks, but I think that it is a little bit of projection, Dana. If you think about just take a couple of days ago. Tim Walz gives this big speech. He's been announced as the VP nominee. And I remember when I had just been announced as the VP nominee, I gave my big speech, and I saw my wife, and I gave her a big hug and a kiss because I love my wife, and I think that's what a normal person does. Tim Walz gave his wife a nice, firm Midwestern handshake and then tried to sort of awkwardly correct for
Oh, that's funny. That's good.
I know.
A handshake.
But overall, right now, because that's the question I get. Where are we right now, Gary? Where are we standing right now? I get that all the time, especially when we get to a Monday and there's been rallies or whatever. Mm-hmm. Everything, all the attacks, and on social media, it's still on Walz and Harris.
Yep.
And on Walz, it's on the stolen valor, and it's turned over the last couple of days on Harris to why won't she do an interview? Why won't she do an interview? Why won't she do an interview? Why won't she do a press conference? And as we all know, that's an easy question to answer. And This goes to the heart of the campaign, and that's why the stolen valor is going to stick.
Yep.
Because that thing still was going full bore ahead over the weekend, even yesterday. When I saw over the weekend, Chaplin says it's like they keep finding more military people, and that story keeps going on, and any excuse they make doesn't work. For her not doing any interviews, CNN can have their arguing, left and right. Well, this is only a media thing. Only reporters care about getting answers from presidential candidates. I mean, This is the argument. They can't win that argument.
No.
But where I disagree with the gentleman that wrote for thehill.com is it's not because, it says she needs to be able to trust the electorate to make wise decisions. She does. That's why she isn't saying anything.
Yeah.
She believes, Kamala Harris believes, the entire Democratic Party, every Democrat listener listening to us right now, you all know the reason she's not speaking. She's not speaking because she can't sell to the American public what she truly believes. When I say speaking, I mean interviews or press conferences where she can be cross-examined.
Right.
She wants to. Now, the problem is here. Scott Rasmussen was talking about the American public doesn't know where she stands on the issues. And we said this before. We said, look, you got to understand, people don't know. They don't pay attention. They know who the president is. You're amazed what people don't know. And except that complete access to abortion, nobody has any idea what she believes, except they believe she believes what Biden believes, if you've seen that polling that's out there.
Yeah. Right.
So there's a number of polls where you go, So she's going by, and her campaign is going by the fact that, okay, they don't know specifically. They may align me to Joe Biden's policies and say I'm just like Joe, but they can't articulate that into positions, in any particular position. So I can tell them I'm tough on the border. I can tell them, what was the other thing she did? Oh, I can tell them that I don't want taxes on tips when she was the one, the final vote to not only tax tips because they were taxed already, but enforce the IRS to go after anybody, especially those who make, $600 in tips? Boom. You better fill it out right, otherwise you're going to be audited.
Yeah, what they called underreported tips.
Right, exactly. That's what they were going after. But the fact is, she's not doing a press conference, and every Democrat right now listening, including our nice caller from last week, knows she can't. She believes, and the Democratic Party believes, they cannot sell their message to the American public. J.D. Vance is out there every day. Why?
He has no problem talking to anybody anytime.
Why?
Because he's confident in his positions.
He knows that the American public, when they hear where he stands on the issues, will agree with him more. And Trump, the same thing. I'm just using J.D. Vance because he's the one out there now every single day, as he should be.
Right.
And he's the one in the pits. And he's doing it, and he's got confidence in it because why? He understands that the American public stands on the issues with the Republican Party. It's that simple.
Yep.
This isn't complicated.
Well, if you have what's called conviction, you're never afraid to talk to anyone.
And Harris wants to become president of the United States by not telling the American public the truth and lying to the American public.
Well, there's no one on the left can convince me they believe she's tougher on the border than Donald Trump.
No, they know that's a lie.
And so you have to ask yourself, where is the actual conviction? And then over the weekend, it just blew up right in her face with the taxes on tips thing. It's like, I'm sorry, excuse me?
Wow.
And there's no one that can say, oh, no, that was her idea. That was her idea, and make anybody else believe it. So there's zero conviction there. She's empty. She doesn't know where to go. She's in over her head, and she knows it. That's the lack of confidence that is required to walk up to a podium and to talk with conviction on the things you believe in. And you believe you can't sell it to the American public. Why? Why would you have to lie? Think about that.
The Democrats, and this is not over-the-top hyperbole. It's obvious. Everybody knows it. That's why she's not speaking. The Democrats hope to lie to the American public on where they stand on every major issue when they're actually 180 degrees the opposite of what, for example, when she said, she's going to be tougher on the border, the tips, everything else that she said that the campaign said the first week, where you and I said, oh, she's looking for plausible deniability later on. She's not going to get at the convention and say, I want tougher borders. I want to close the border down.
You're going to say that on stage?
She's going to say that on stage? I want to close the border. The ad's saying that. Her campaign's saying that. Will she say that?
Everything will likely be, most everything that you'll hear on stage will likely be about her being a woman of color and being a woman. Now, Bill Clinton, again, is going to start with saying, I think it's time we had a woman in the White House.
I've never thought it was time before to have a woman, but now it is.
It's time we had a real woman in the White House. Oh, careful, Bill. It's
I like that. See, you're doing what Democrats do. You said it and said, be careful, Bill.
Be careful,
as
Bill.
If he said it.
Yeah, be careful. Hey, listen,
I like that.
I didn't say that.
Well, let's go back, because we start off the show with this. Let's go back to Scott Jennings on CNN. I believe this was Friday. Okay, it might have been Saturday. I'm not sure, but it was over the weekend.
I'd like to first welcome Kamala Harris, the vice president, into the Republican Party.
Is that all it takes?
Well, I mean, I saw her ad today, and I thought, did I miss something? Did she switch party? Is she now running as a Republican? Because if you were a space alien and you landed on this planet and you knew nothing and you watched that ad, you'd say, boy, that Republican, she looks pretty tough on the border right now. There is no conceivable way that any person in this country is going to believe that Kamala Harris or any Democrat candidate for president, after everything they've said and done, is going to be tougher on the border than Donald Trump. I'm going to Venmo the DNC right now, so they'll keep running these ads and keep reminding people of what a disaster this is.
Now, what they go by is, Scott Rasmussen said, people don't know where they only know where she stands on abortion, that she's for abortion till birth. Other than that, people don't know where she stands.
Right.
And so she is banking that the American people wish to be willfully ignorant as to where she stands on the issues.
Right.
And she believes she can lie her way into the White House by convincing the American public that she has opinions on the issues that she has never held. That's why they did the border ad.
Yep.
Scott Jennings going, I'll help pay for it. They'll take that from you because they believe they can convince the American public. They believe the American public are a bunch of idiots who will buy anything, and that's why they're putting out that ad. They believe that the American public are a bunch of idiots where they can tell them that they have taken new stances on the issues that are 180 degrees different than they've ever held, and they have no intention of implementing if she became president of the United States.
Right.
None. Zero. Because they believe the American public are idiots.
Yep.
That's what the Democrats believe.
Look, she's the nominee without getting one vote. Anything's possible.
Yeah. And Democrats don't care.
They don't care.
Democrats
Nobody's
don't care.
outraged about that.
Democrats don't care that their vote means nothing.
Talking to the media, why would the media matter if the people didn't matter?
Right. But the Democratic voter does not care if their vote is counted.
Well,
they don't.
You know, the thing is that I remember years ago, my oldest daughter asked me, it was years ago, "Hey, Dad, you watching House of Cards on Netflix?" I said, I don't know. I've seen a couple episodes. And, but it's too over the top. Actually, if you go back and watch House of Cards, they didn't do enough to be as bizarre and eccentric and just, completely mind-blowingly bizarre as what's going on right now. You would have to rewrite the script, and still nobody would believe it.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. And everybody knows that's true, though. That's the thing. This is sort of like when Karine Jean-Pierre was up there promoting something. It was like everybody knows she's lying.
Yeah. Right.
Everyone knows that the reason that Kamala Harris, every Democrat listening right here, right now knows, and we thank our Democrat friends for listening to the show, as always, but every one of them knows that she's trying to sell the American public a lie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's what she truly believes. That's why the campaign's out there. And, the campaign's out there saying, oh, no, on she's going to be tough on the southern border. No. She believes in police officers all over the streets. She's tough on crime, on crime.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, stop it.
Yeah.
Everyone knows she's not. Everybody knows that she is a far-left liberal. Every Democrat knows that, and every Democrat knows. That's why they're fine. Democrats are fine with their vote not counting.
Yeah,
because they're fine
sure.
with everything. They know that the Harris campaign is a complete lie.
Yep.
As to what they truly believe.
Yep.
And they're okay with it because they say, if we can convince the American public of this lie, we'll get elected.
Right. Yep.
And that's what it's about. And that's the difference between the two political parties on the issues. Republican Party doesn't need to lie.
Nope.
They haven't lied about where they stand on the actual issues.
Right. They don't need to.
Right. Democrats have to lie on everything to the point where neither the presidential candidate or vice presidential candidate can do a press conference or an interview where they might be cross-examined on anything.
Kamala is pro-fracking. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Discuss it.
Yeah, go ahead. Yep.
Go ahead.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. How's everybody doing?
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
I just wanted to, let me see where I put it here. I got so many things here that I bookmarked. That's the problem from Friday, till now.
Yeah.
Is you bookmark so much. I just wanted to look, because we had talked about Mark Mitchell from Rasmussen Polling last week, taking off against the other pollsters, saying they're wrong.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
She's not in the lead. And it was interesting because he had posted over the weekend, and they're doing this every single day, what their polling is. All right, and it's interesting because they're wanting, Rasmussen's coming out and saying, look, we're being honest with our polling, and we're telling you exactly how we do it.
Right.
And we do it every single day, and we're willing to show you what it is like every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really interesting when you look at the polling out there, when you do it daily and what the averages may be. Like on July 22nd, all right, Trump was up by 16, 53-37. The next day up by 6. By July 24th, he's down by 3.
Yeah.
By July 25th, he's down by 2. July 28th, he's up by 1. July 29th, he's up by 2. July 30th, he's up by 4. July 31st, he's up by 5. August 4th, he's up by 1. August 5th, he's up by 7. August 6th, he's up by 5. August 7th, he's up by 10. August 8th, he's up by 4. August 9th, he's up by 4.
Mm-hmm.
And so the daily changes, that's interesting just to see in one poll that you're doing every single day. And then a lot of times the polls will combine 5 of those days together, and the average of that poll is what comes out.
Right.
But you can see that even in a pollster that does it, is Trafalgar, wasn't Trafalgar, because we had mentioned it before, you said that the change, weren't they doing something, were they making all automated calls? Who was making all automated calls?
I don't recall.
I forgot what the controversy was with Trafalgar. I got to go back and do research on it. But in Rasmussen here, they go through every single day. So you can see in a poll, think about this, you've gone, you went from July 22nd to July 24th. There was a 19-point swing. Now, was there really? Or was that just the sample that you got for that day? And
right.
I know that she was in and Biden resigned in that time, but still, was there a 19-point swing, or was that, again, just the demographics that you polled on that day?
And not just a 19-point swing in such, like zero amount of time, but also after 0 people were calling and chanting her name.
Right.
If this had been very different, if the entire party and the liberal media in, let's just say, since early February of 24, which is about when Trump really started to show consistent leads in polls. Let's say at about that same time, the Democratic Party and the liberal media were in unison, Kamala, Kamala. That Will.i.am wrote a chant song. That Anthony Kiedis came out and did a new pledge to Kamala. You have to go back a few years for this, for the whole Obama thing. That there was in unison this calling for it to be her, not Biden. Then
and understand, Obama was organic because, remember, he was rolled out 2004, right?
Right.
At that convention, it was like, okay, he's going to be, and so he kept moving up, and then he went through the primary process, and then became
against Hillary,
right, and then legitimately became the nominee for the Democrats with Hope and Change, and you saw the excitement that he created.
Well,
this excitement, the excitement for Kamala Harris did not exist. In fact, it was the opposite 3 weeks ago.
Exactly. There was nothing going on. As I've been saying, she wasn't even invited to the dance a few weeks ago, and now she's the prom queen. That kind of swing where it was like, okay, people have been waiting to tell the pollsters, would still be hard to believe. But you'd say, well, they really have been pushing for her to be the nominee all year. They weren't.
They weren't. No, it's just the opposite.
It was everybody else but her.
Exactly.
They were putting out there people who aren't going to run. You know, again, it was the unicorn. It was the wish list. It was the whole thing of, floating everybody but her. All of a sudden, she has this massive swing in performance in the polls from out of nowhere, being virtually unwanted by her own party to the next Obama. And I mean 08 Obama, not 2012 Obama. 2012 Obama still won, but it was a different mindset. Remember, by then we had who was it? Matthews that was saying, Chris Matthews saying it was the end of 2011. He believed Obama wasn't going to run in 2012 for re-election.
And he had said during the first term, I think it was even before 2 years had ended. Mm-hmm. He said Obama doesn't like the gig.
Yeah, but it was the fall of 2011 that he really ramped that up. That Chris Matthews really ramped that up, and I don't know if it was Cavuto jumped off of what Matthews was saying, or if he also believed it for inside information that he had too. But Cavuto was kind of echoing that. But Chris Matthews, an insider for the longest time until he wasn't. And those, so it was a very different season in 2012, but in 2008, the euphoria, there's been zero euphoria for her. None,
absolutely none.
All of this is they've used as much as they can use to try and prop her up to make it look like that was always going to be the case, or that there was, to make you believe that everybody was calling for her to be the nominee when nobody was. And the liberal media knows it. The liberal media was mocking her. The liberal media was telling the stories and the leaks of what goes on inside, her office, the vice president's office. And we didn't even need to go that far, if you're paying attention. Just go all the way up to December 3rd of 2019 when she had to drop out. She didn't even make it to 2020, to the primary season, because she was out of money and nobody was supporting her in her own party.
And as we mentioned earlier, and mentioned it many times before, and then she accused her own party of being racist for not voting for her.
Right.
And now there's this fake, yay, she's the woman. Why? Because Biden's gone and they know she's the only hope. So they agree with not counting the votes of Democrats.
Right.
They agree because it was made clear over the weekend from Biden and from Pelosi.
Yep.
Pelosi was mumbling all over the place like, well, that letter didn't seem like it was written by him. And some people think that, that it didn't sound like him. And it was. She's implying that he didn't write the letter.
As you said in the top of the hour break, Democrats need to tell Pelosi to shut up.
Yeah.
You're not helping at all.
And then Biden's out there saying, the race was basically tied, and this is where the lie is. The race was basically tied, but I was being told by other people that the down ballot would be affected. Well, then they were lying to you.
Right.
Because if you were tied, you don't know if the down ballot was going to be affected.
Right.
Because he's lying. Nobody in the damn party can tell the truth about anything.
That's the problem. When everything is built on lies,
right?
Then there is no truth to get to. Right. There is no truth to tell. For the Democrats, there is no truth.
No, nothing's. The reason he's out isn't the truth.
Right. Right.
The reason he's giving for being out isn't the truth.
Nope.
But we know it wasn't because of his cognitive abilities. It was simply, they said he can't win.
Right.
It's because of his cognitive abilities, but they can't. That's one of the reasons. The other are his policies, but they can't admit either. They've got to lie across the board, and now we're to the point where you've got Harris, who is nobody has any idea where she stands. They believe she stands right where Biden does, but on the actual specific issues, Americans can't tell you. And so the entire campaign, every Democratic voter, because I haven't heard one Democrat who's upset, not one.
No.
I haven't seen on social media, I haven't seen one Democrat to say this is just BS, that our vote doesn't count, and we need to reject stuff like this.
What's the only thing that we've gotten from the campaign is the word, and we focused on it last hour, joy.
Joy, right.
Yeah, which their slogan is Make America Cackle Again. They can't win that. They can't. You're not going to win on joy alone. It has to be on the issues because the left is counting on you to be on the issues, but you can't win the middle if you actually talk the issues. Yeah. You can't tell the truth and win.
I mean, they're lying to each other. They're lying to the opposition. They're lying to each other. They're lying to everybody.
Yeah.
About everything. I mean, it really is it's an amazing time in American history. It really is. This is going to be this time. This election's going to be in the history books.
Well, no, it will. You know what historians will look at? You know how it will be written? Not long after the advent of legalization of marijuana. That's how it will start. As more and more states made recreational marijuana use legal, this was what was going on in the nation's capital. There's no way you could separate the two because you're all smoking weed. Seriously. You're just high. You're way too high. You and I talked about it for years on the whole legalization thing. We were talking early on about edibles and how strong edibles. I heard a comedian the other day saying, it scares the daylights out of me. You know, that you can actually, how much you can actually take, what you can take. Joe Rogan even brought it up in his new stand-up special, which actually is very funny, I thought. And those, you know, it's with history looks back because of, and can do this without full on judgment or contrived, I should say the contrived type judgment. History can look back and judge it based on what it actually was at the time. They can analyze it in a different way. And the reason is because it's no longer threatening to anyone. Because it's behind us. Oh, man. Wow. That looks like a horrible train wreck. Glad I wasn't in it. And they'll analyze as to why things came off the rails. And it's not going to be good. It could possibly, though, be one of the most interesting reads ever when they finally do it, whenever that is, 10, 20, 30 years from now. I hope and pray I'm still around just so I can look back on it and go, yeah, Gary and I were talking about it. Tell me where I'm wrong. Walk around the house shouting that.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at J.J. Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on roadside inspections. Drivers must always be prepared for a roadside inspection. This means drivers should always have their personal, vehicle, and company credentials organized and ready, and having any shipment paperwork such as bills of lading or hazardous materials shipment emergency response information organized and ready for the inspection official. Just an FYI, the top 2 violations written against drivers every year, as well as during Operation Road Check, are log, general form and manner, and log not current. Both are completely avoidable if the driver keeps the log accurate, compliant, and current at all times. Having the vehicle ready for inspection involves the driver conducting daily inspections and making sure any problems that are discovered are immediately corrected. Vehicle readiness also requires the company to make sure that the vehicle is current on all scheduled maintenance and that the maintenance schedule is adequate. This will make sure the driver is being given a sound vehicle to start with. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller and Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
Red Eye Radio, he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I want to play this audio because we always love to talk about how each side frames a particular debate or argument. Mm-hmm. And we pointed out that the Minneapolis Star Tribune absolutely lied about the issue of Tampon Tim.
Right.
Them saying they can't believe, never mentioning that the whole issue was about tampons in boys' bathrooms.
Right.
They completely ignore that as if it's simply the Trump campaign not wanting young women to have access to tampons.
Right.
Same thing on MSNBC. Listen to this. And this is Tim's Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan and the MSNBC host here. Listen to how they frame this, because it's the only issue here is about tampons for boys.
Right.
That's the issue. Listen to how they ignore it completely.
Things he has done that is getting him criticism. The Trump campaign is attacking Governor Walz as, quote, Tampon Tim, which drives me crazy. Because it is making fun of something very serious and very caring that he has done for Minnesota students. Talk about this.
Well, first and foremost, Tim Walz is a dad, and that is big dad energy, making sure that folks who need access to hygiene products have them. We don't charge people to use toilet paper right at their schools. This is a necessity for people, and I think it just shows the kindness and the goodness in him. And I also think folks are telling on themselves, right, when they don't see why this is a necessity. You're telling me you've never had to use a wad of toilet paper and try to figure it out, or that you haven't had resources to pay for tampons or for pads. This is a real issue, and it just shows how disconnected they are from the lives of real people across the country.
There you go. What's missing?
Boys.
Now, they all know they're lying. They know they're on MSNBC, even on MSNBC. The people watching MSNBC know that the anchor and the lieutenant governor are lying by omission, because the issue is not tampons for women.
Right.
It's tampons for men.
Yep.
And boys.
Right.
That aren't needed.
Right.
That's the point. And, of course, they ignore the entire controversy and make it into something else that it is not. That's the calculated line of the left.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. This entire thing, and that's why we read the Minneapolis Star Tribune's editorial on Tampon Tim when that came along. And as we know, that's about putting tampons in boys' restrooms. And to me, it's much the same as you notice. They never mention the boy part of it, either in the Minneapolis Star Tribune, which is the issue, or on the MSNBC interview with the lieutenant governor.
Right.
Never brought it up that that's the issue. Made it the whole point they're trying, just like on the banning books. We had a Democrat who called us on Friday. They want to ban books. No, they don't.
No.
What adults they want to ban books from? Well, they want to ban books on slavery from young kids. No, that's the lie that you were fed. Completely false in Florida. Completely false.
Yep.
And when we explained to him what they wanted to ban, he agreed with us that shouldn't be put in there, which was the critical race theory. The myth that all whites are culturally racist to the point where all society must be, culturally racist to the point where racism is in everything that they do, which is why you get to the insanity that being autonomous and independent is white supremacy, because you've got to get to that point if you're a Democrat, because you have to. If you're a Democrat and you're practice identity politics where you judge people by groups and not individuals, when you are a true racist, you have to be against autonomy and individuality, which is why that has become white supremacy, because they believe they can only win if they can say all whites are racist and all blacks must think the same way, because all whites are racist. And so, as we've said before, with the books, it was age-appropriate materials and telling the truth. Not throwing your racist agenda, your identity politics agenda in there. We believe racism has no part of being taught to young kids. Well, that was being sold because they couldn't sell it. They couldn't sell it in their perverted way of what they truly believe. We want sexually explicit materials, and we want racist lies for 5, 6, 7, and 8-year-olds. We wish to indoctrinate them as soon as we possibly can. That's what it was about in Florida. And first, remember, it first started out as the radical transgender movement, and then it moved when they couldn't defend that. Well, they're against teaching slavery. Remember how that morphed into something else?
Yeah, right.
All false, all lies. And the same thing here. They can't tell the truth of their perversions because the American public won't accept their perversions and their perversion of science.
Once you bring all the facts into it, it becomes a very different conversation, and they know it.
Yep. Can't do it. And they know it. They know they're lying. Lieutenant Governor knows she's lying on it.
Keep the facts out of it. Because you get into the actual issue, and they can't talk the issue. They have to run from the issue.
And that's what is the most amazing thing that I've ever covered in my over 4 decades of covering politics, to have one party on the issue have to lie about every major issue to the American public of where they truly stand in order to win. And they view the polls right now, the polls that they agree with, they view those polls as the evidence that they're getting away with it. Because they know it. And that's why we say every Democrat knows it. We were glad to get the one Democrat call the other day because we hardly hear from Democrats at all. They are so completely quiet these days. Maybe not the activists who are willing to do it, but even there, right there on MSNBC, the Minneapolis Star Tribune, nobody can address the actual topic. And that's the thing that's like, we get that. If we get most of the time, not the other day when we got that call, that was a great call. It was, and the guy admitted when we were right. But the fact is, that's what's happening right there. The Minneapolis Star Tribune editorial that we read earlier that never mentioned boys' bathrooms.
No.
Never mentioned the insanity of the radical transgender movement.
Because the moment they do, it brings up all the other questions. It brings up the actual topic at hand, and they can't defend it. Otherwise, they would have vetted that completely right then and there.
Well, the Minneapolis Star Tribune and MSNBC in that interview we just played with the lieutenant governor is trying to make it that Republicans don't want young girls to have tampons.
Right.
What the hell are you talking about? That's not the issue at all. The issue is tampons in boys' bathrooms.
Young girls from poor families, especially.
Right,
That's
yes,
what, they have to turn it into a victim thing.
And BIPOC, got to throw that in there, too.
Yeah.
BIPOC, excuse me, not bio.
And that's what they want.
Yeah.
That they want you to believe that, they're just keeping poor people from getting what they need.
All lies.
Yep. They can't tell
All
the
lies.
truth
Right.
because once they get into that conversation, they know it's over for them.
But
They don't want it.
that's the entire campaign. Because even when they attempt to do this, that's all over social media going, these people are absolutely lying.
Right.
It's all over social media. The reason I've seen all of these things is not in the general media. All of this that we brought up, whether it was the Minneapolis Star Tribune, I didn't see that story anywhere except because Megyn Kelly challenged someone who was defending that and lying about what Republicans are saying on it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how I found it. All of this is because of social media.
Right. Yeah.
And then it gets, as you said earlier, the one thing that's different is all the mocking of this stuff on social media and calling out on it, going, well, wait a minute, you never mentioned boys' bathrooms. That's the only issue that Republicans are having with it.
Because you can't win it.
Yeah,
you know that when you bring the entire truth, you can't win the conversation. You can't win the debate on that. And the fact checking, I don't know. Look, the Washington Post still employs Glenn Kessler, as far as I know, as the fact checker. The guy who hands out all the Pinocchios. Wasn't it bottomless Pinocchios for Biden?
Mm-hmm.
But the American public doesn't need a Glenn Kessler because the American public has the ability to do the fact checking now, and they do it pretty good. They do it pretty well. And you can, right or wrong, you can say all of the misinformation on the internet. Eventually, if you want to find the truth, you can find it. We believe you're capable of doing it. It gets back to how willful you are to find it. The left doesn't want you looking at it at all. Don't you dare Google anything. And that's where they are. This is, when it's broken down, the thing with her speeches and the fact that every speech was the same, the inflection on words was exactly the same. It was so overly rehearsed, her campaign stops. That was brutal. That was brutal. Self-plagiarism is real. It is, and it's, again, the problem that she has, the reason it presents an even bigger problem with her, and we played it. What was it? It was like the last couple of sentences or last several words or whatever it was overlapped on each other were identical. And the reason that's a problem, especially for her, is because of her word salads. She gets caught in the sentence and then just keeps using a word over and over again. And it just keeps coming around and around and around and around and around. And it's especially bad. She's not capable. Listen, forget what we think, because I don't think she's capable. But it's clear she doesn't think she's capable, and it's clear her campaign and the DNC don't think she's capable.
Yeah, because no one wanted her in until there was no other out.
Right.
And no one in the Democratic Party, in fact, it was just the opposite. Everyone was looking for someone else to replace her with.
I mean, think of the major political figures on the left in past years. Hillary Clinton. You're not going to tell Hillary Clinton what to say. Now, she lied a lot, but there was no way that you were going to tell her, and she was never afraid. What happened with the Hillary campaign that really got them to build a wall around her campaign? Bill. Young reporters, especially young female reporters, were learning, I don't know, for the first time.
Yeah, I remember
certainly
that. Yeah.
Revisiting all of the problems with Bill and his behaviors with women in the past, and that was coming up in questions. And remember, they had to build a wall around her so that those young reporters wouldn't ask her those questions. But in terms of a speech, she could do her own speech. She could talk to the media. And she was going to lie through her teeth, but she could do it. Kamala Harris doesn't have the confidence to talk to anybody. She's in over her head, and she knows it. She's not drowning in water. She's drowning in flop sweat.
I'm trying to find that audio from her last week when it was side by side, because it was really weird.
Man, it's just bizarre to hear.
Okay, I have it.
Do you have it?
I found it, yeah.
All right.
Let's play it. Here we go.
All right.
Here.
So good to be back in Michigan. Listen, let me tell you, I am clear. The path to the White House runs right through this state. And listen, I am clear. The path to the White House runs right through this state. I took on perpetrators of all kinds. I took on perpetrators of all kinds and had a summer job at McDonald's. I had a summer job at McDonald's. So hear me when I say, Detroit, when I say, I know Donald Trump's type. I know Donald Trump's type. And are we ready to fight for it? And are we ready to fight for it? And when we fight, we win.
That was side by side.
Just
I know.
Weird.
Yeah.
You know, honestly, unless it were a script for, I don't know, a movie or a TV show or something, or a commercial I was shooting, I would look at that and I would look at my campaign and go, well, what is going on? Why am I repeating the same words? Can we not change this up? Tells me she doesn't want to. You keep it as trimmed as you can, and you keep it the same because it's easier to do. You don't get in over your head that way, hopefully, unless you step out for a few seconds and address the media because J.D. Vance owned you on your own tarmac the day before. Ouch.
And that was it. I mean, that's the only response I think she thought they needed for, you know, when she came out and said, look, we're trying to schedule something by the end of the month.
Yeah.
They even said that on it was CNN.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she said she's trying to, get something together by the end of the week. Oh, end of the month. And they all burst out laughing like this is just ridiculous.
End of the month?
Wow. But everybody knows. Everybody knows, every Democrat knows that if she thought what she believed she could sell to the American public, she'd be doing every interview possible. Yep. If Democrats thought that Americans agreed with Democrats on the issues, she'd be out there everywhere.
Yep.
866-98-RED-EYE.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
Red Eye Radio, he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I swear, this is a headline from Bloomberg, from Bloomberg.com. Tim Walz's masculinity is terrifying to Republicans.
Yeah, because all it takes to be a man is to wear a ball cap. Wow.
And he's holding a gun.
Oh.
He's holding a gun.
Right.
He's got the head mufflers on, and he's all set. His masculinity scares Republicans.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. I mean, that's definitely projection, isn't it?
It is, and it's idiotic.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.